About the fact that Nick Dean has kind of been a problem for you guys for a few years now. What was it that worked so well for him today and held you guys at bay?
Well, I'd say a couple of things. He mixed his pitches really well. Did a good job. He did about what we thought he would do, and all the credit in the world to him. He did a really good job. The changeup was a little bit softer, I think, in real time than you probably in the scouting report. And that's, we talked about that earlier. The kid from Texas, the lefty from Texas, threw a really soft changeup, almost like a palm ball, and his was a little bit softer, which kind of threw guys off a little bit. Guys got in between. Located his fastball well down and away, especially with two strikes. Kind of we knew he'd do. We did a good job with it, and then the fastball up and over the middle was effective. It was good. We didn't do a good job of forcing. I should say this: we didn't stay very disciplined. We didn't execute a plan very well. We got beat by fastballs. We chased fastballs up. We were in between timing, and we didn't do a good job of staying true to a plan. I think, they scored a couple of runs early, and then, it's kind of like guys got a little bit in between and a little bit emotional, and I just told him that we just didn't execute a plan very well. And so he did a great job. He did a great job, but I didn't think that we didn't help ourselves at all in the way that we just didn't stick to the plan very well.
Reisdorf went back for that fourth inning of work, started to run to a few base runners.
Yeah.
What was the plan with him going into that, and also did you consider kind of taking him out a little bit earlier than that?
We did. You're just kind of in no man's land. You're just kind of in no man's land. You're down by a couple. You're in between. He had been really good his second time to the lineup, and he still didn't get hit hard. It wasn't any hard contact. I think was it a leadoff walk there? We have a leadoff walk, a couple really close pitches, leadoff walk, and then you're playing Shaw deep, probably a little bit too deep. Although he's got 45, 46 career home runs, so I understand it. But a soft fly ball to center, and then you get a fly ball that falls in right into a strike count, and it goes from 0 to 100 really quickly. And Reisdorf is getting weak contact. He's still probably, that's why I kind of told Glenn, said, what do you want to do? I said, he's probably your best bet to get a double play ball, to try to get out of it. And then he jams a kid. It's more like kid's big and strong, and he floats the ball to the left field line and kind of breaks it open a little bit. So he had a couple of hit by pitches in there in the middle of it, but you hate it for him because he did throw well. He did do a good job, but you're just in no man's land. You're just in no man's land where he's probably the best he got once they got two guys on to get the double play. He gets the two strikes, and the guy drops a single on the right, and now you're going to the pen with the bases loaded, nobody out, and there's not necessarily out when you're down by a couple runs. We don't have a guy that you were going to in that situation that says, hey, we're down by a couple, and we're going to go get a punch out here, and obviously with the last couple games in mind. So you're hoping he can jam a guy and get a double play ball and try to get out of the inning, and it just didn't work that way. So I hated it for him, honestly, because he threw really well and did a good job. And you look at the stat line at the end, and you're like, dang, he got beat up, but he really didn't. He really was excellent, and I told him that. I told him after the game as well. So I was really pleased with how he threw. Sometimes it just works out that way. If you say, okay, we got to get for us to be effective, we got to get a couple punch outs and some weak contact. He kind of did that, right? We had a couple free bases in there, but he did kind of what he should do especially for a young guy. He gets three weak contact and a couple strikeouts, and then you look up and there's 5 runs on the board. So I wasn't disappointed, obviously, with his effort. He did a good job. Like I said, we're just the way that we navigate. We're just in no man's land. They're in the middle of the game. You're down. You got multiple guys on base without running, Kraft or Yoho or Foley out there. We're trying to get double play ball, and it's just he's probably still your best bet to get that.
What's different about this Maryland lineup that Manasseh hasn't seen yet this year?
I mean, they're adults. I mean, they're all. You look at Shaw and LaRusso and Shigler and all those guys. They're all 3rd, 4th, 5th year guys. I mean, they're adults. They're really good. We tried to get in and we didn't get in, and tried to get up and didn't get up, and they're good players. So I know that sounds like a really cheap cliche answer, but I mean, they just got him. We had a chance there with the fly ball to center. That's a play we've made 100 times this year and practiced it yesterday and just overthrew, right? But that's a shallow fly ball that Bobby's thrown out half a dozen guys this year and typically makes that play. We don't. Now it's a 2-run game. Solo homers don't normally win or lose games, and they just did a good job. For Shetty to be effective, he has to land pitches, and and typically he does. And at the same time, like sometimes good hitters are just good hitters, and they were good today.
Is it a blessing? I don't want to use the word blessing in disguise. It's probably wrong, but in some ways, is it better for the game to snowball so you can save your relievers for later in the weekend while you never want to get blown out? If you've got your better arms for Saturday and Sunday now, could that be better than if you had to lose a close game tonight?
Sure. I mean, I think anytime you can go into the rest of the weekend feeling like you're still in a good spot on the mound, I think that's never a bad thing. I feel like we've built enough depth now to where I would have felt fine either way, kind of going into the next 2 days. But yeah, I'm Mr. Positive, so I'm always glass half full. I'll take it and run with it.
Coach, with Seti, you've mentioned that a lot of his off-speed stuff has to play off of his fastball velocity. It didn't seem like you really had that today.
Yeah.
Is there something you saw maybe in his warm-up, or did he just not have it on the mound today?
Not too much. I mean, I thought the splitter was up. I thought the splitter was up a little bit and soft. When it's good, it's firm and down. But from the side, I don't know that to be the case. That's just kind of the layman's evaluation of. I thought a couple of the splitters were up and soft instead of being kind of firmer and down. And if he's 88 to 90 and the splitter's 80 and the slider's 82, 83, it's usually a pretty tight bunch. I thought a couple of them were kind of soft enough, but I don't know that. I think that they got fastballs where they needed them and they tagged them.
Part of it will depend what happens tomorrow, but because tomorrow could tie the series,
Sure.
what are your plans for a high leverage guy like Ryan Kraft? Because there is still Savakul on Sunday.
Yeah. Normally we go to Kraft when it's like a down one tie game, up one kind of situation where we feel like we have some length with it. So we'll just we'll kind of feel it from there. But you still have Phillips and you have Foley and you have Brooks and so we're still in a fine position. And so you want to make sure you use Kraft in a position where you could use him for some length because you've got 5 or 6 innings with him. So if we get in a position where we need him to win a ball game, we'll take him. We'll go with it to win a ball game, and a lot of it's just feel the moment, feel of the game, and obviously with Savakul on Sunday, I mean, he's good. Dean's good. They're all good, right? They're all good. So you just got to find a way to try to win tomorrow, and if that requires Kraft, it requires Kraft.
Coach, quick turnaround tomorrow, obviously 1 o'clock game. After a game like today where it just didn't go well from the start, what's the message to the team?
Well, I tell the guys, always, like, I don't necessarily care. Winning and losing is the most is obviously an uncontrollable piece of it. I guess there's a coach I worked for a long time ago. He said 25% of the games you're going to roll out and get your butt kicked, and 25% of the games you're going to roll out and kick somebody's butt. It's the 50% of the games that you got to try to find a way to win those ball games, right? I don't know if today was one of those days where you just get your butt kicked, right? Sometimes those things happen, and they played really well and had some balls fall in, and they're good, and so those things happen sometimes, and it hasn't happened a bunch to us this year, but it happens sometimes. It happened today. My thing for the guys was when things don't go well, how do you manage? How do you manage your emotions? What's your body language like? How do you persevere? And those were the things I talked about, like. We didn't do an awesome job of that. We kind of showed our youth a little bit tonight, I thought, and that happens too. So every game is worth 1, and just like I told the guys earlier the week, today's game is worth 1, and tomorrow and next weekend, and so you have 11 more conference games. So they're all worth 1. Feel bad for that if you want to, but pick up tomorrow morning and bring a smile on your face and go back and play again tomorrow. So. That was essentially the message in a nutshell. And you just pick up and move on.
Series openers have been a bit of a sore spot for you, but you come back and won the second and third game almost every time. How much does that give confidence to the team, knowing the openers haven't been good, partly because you don't have a guy that can go multiple innings like other people do, but you can come back and do it as you've done all year?
Sure. No, I think the best indicator of the future is your past, right? So I think it does give the guys confidence. You kind of been here before. That's why you go play a really good early season schedule, and you get your butt kicked sometimes. You pick back up and go back to work. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. It does give the guys a lot of confidence to be able to show back up tomorrow and go compete and play well. And we've done it before, and we can do it again, certainly, 100%.
Matheson was one of the players today to see Dean pretty well.
Yeah.
And praising him as of
Yeah.
late. What did you see today that made him effective against Dean?
Yeah, he was able to adjust. The home run was a fastball up and over the middle. We talked about we're going to have to be flat to him, and he tagged it right away. So you know, he takes a walk early, competitive walk, and then gets a fastball up and over the middle and tags it. I don't have a problem with guys going early in the count. You just got to be on time for it. You got to flatten it out. And if you hit a ball hard early in the count, no problem. We have to make sure that we're either extending pitch counts or we're hitting the ball hard. And Carter's done a good job of that. He's gotten a good counts, and when he swung, he's hit the ball hard consistently, and has been a real bright spot. And obviously it was today, but it's been good kind of leading up to today as well. So, you know, when you give yourself a chance, when you're able to go and execute a game plan well. When you don't, and you're haphazard and you're reliant on someone else to make a mistake, it becomes much more like the way the ball bounces and luck. And so he did a really good job of sticking to a plan and executing the plan really well, and he's super talented. So when he puts those things together, he's got a chance to be really good, which he obviously was tonight.
We'll take two more.
Coach, you mentioned the progression of getting better over the weekend being a really big key for you guys. What, I guess, elements of today do you need to magnify in order to continue that trend Saturday and Sunday?
So you have emotion when you play sports, right? So you're emotional. So I don't want to say you shouldn't play with emotion, but you have to allow your emotion and your excitement to focus you and narrow your vision into a plan, to attack a plan, and to stay engaged, and not allow it to kind of be an inferno that kind of burns you up a little bit. And so for us, we just have to go back to tomorrow and allow, okay, we were excited, we wanted to play well, it didn't go our way, and so now what do? Do you kind of pout a little bit about it? Do you kind of have a temper tantrum about it, or do you focus back in, and like we've done 100 times before, and just go navigate tomorrow and allow your focus and your energy and your excitement to sharpen you, and not allow it to overwhelm you. And so that was a message to the guys, and that will be the thing for us that we can take into tomorrow. And as I already said, you know, you've got Sennard on the mound, and you've got Kraft and Yoho and all those guys ready to go. So it's a new day, it's a new game. It's crazy, you know, of all the sports, baseball is so dependent upon one person, right? What happens at the one guy that stands 60 feet away and has the ball. So each day the game can change considerably. So you have to go out tomorrow and stay focused, attack a plan, stay committed to the plan, and then go out and kind of see where it goes from there.
You talked about the coaching staff looking at data from losses to help in series wins. Is that something that you're going to be looking at tonight after tonight's game?
Yeah, I'm sure Coach Glant's already in the office over there looking at it. So he'll be you know, working away at it and come in with a good plan for tomorrow, and do our best to execute it. You know, it sounds weird when you say, you know, you gave up 13 runs and there were some bright spots to it, but they scored in bunches, right? They scored they had the 3-run inning, the 7-run inning, a 2-run inning late is, you know, you're getting guys in there, but you know, they scored in 2 main innings. 10 of their runs come in those main innings. So you just got to go in there, and you got to navigate the way, like, how do we make adjustments to not allow those innings to get away from us, and execute just a little bit better. And again, sometimes it doesn't matter. Like if a guy throws a ball out there, 76-mile-an-hour exit velocity, like you get 3 of those an inning, and sometimes it just happens. So you try not to have any free bases around them, right? Usually the big innings have 2 or 3 free bases in them, and that big inning had it, and sometimes it's just the way it goes.
Last one, Carl.
Was there something that you saw out of any of the late pitchers that you threw that haven't gotten a lot of time lately that you liked today?
Yeah, I thought Wes was really good. You know, Wes has been working with what off-speed pitch he can use to complement his fastball, and we've changed over more to the changeup kind of this past week in some of the midweek innings, scrimmage innings, and they were a great offense to see if that would be effective, because they are so fastball dominant, and they don't expand, they don't chase. They have essentially a 1-to-1 walk to strikeout ratio as a team, which is incredibly rare to have at this level of college baseball. So for him to get some chase, for him to get, and again, he ran out of gas. That was kind of the first time he's been extended to that point. But you know, I thought he was really good. You know, Katsky's a unique guy, because if he's able to land the off speed, he's got so many off speed pitches where he has the curveball, the slider, and the changeup. He gets a leadoff base hit and then navigates lineup. So, you know, he's a guy that could really help us if he can land the off speed and then sneak the fastball in there. So I would say those 2 guys were probably the 2 guys that you look at and say there's a real chance for them.
So possibly like 1 inning if it was a competitive game.
Yeah, yes, yeah. I would say that was kind of, once we got to that tweener stage, it was like, let's run West. Again, we had 2 outs, nobody on, and back-to-back walks. let's run West back out there again for the third time. He's throwing really well. He's probably down. Let's see if we can extend him a little bit. Trying to get his chronic workload high enough to where he could then be extended into the future if the fastball changeup profile is going to be a winner for us. It's going to help. Then let's see if we can get his chronic up enough to where we could use him again into the future. And potentially Caskey, again, we need a guy that you could use, kind of to your point earlier about Reisdorf, like who do you go to? And we've done that with him several times. It's like, you know, it kind of stinks for a young guy, bases loaded, nobody out, and you got to come trotting in out of the bullpen. But who do you go to when there's a guy on first and second? Who do you go to, you know, bases loaded where you can come in and spin it? He just got to land it. And early he didn't, and then it kind of, as he got going, he started landing it, and he's got good enough stuff where he could help us. He's just got to be in the strike zone with it. So potentially, yeah.
Great. Thanks, Coach.
Awesome. Thanks.